This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This is as strange gets. You don't see this very often, and obviously in Scripture we hear of things like this. Hurricane Irma is literally pulling the ocean away from shorelines. Now, scientists and weather forecasters are trying to tell you why this is occurring. We see in the Bahamas, the ocean has literally been sucked away. In Tampa, before the storm, or before Irma, I should say, hits, the ocean has been sucked away as well. Now, I am not a prophet. I am not a minister. I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel. But we do hear many times in the Bible speaking about how the sea will dry up. Makes you think a little bit, doesn't it? Isaiah 19:5, the waters from the sea will dry up and the river will be parched and dry. We hear it in Revelation 16:12, the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river, and its water was dried up so that the way would be prepared for the kings from the east. Now, I'm not saying this has anything to do with Bible prophecy being fulfilled at the moment, but I am saying that it is extremely strange and bizarre to see some of these photos that people have taken of their dogs running around a dried up ocean, or what was once the sea. It says, according to USA Today, who is documenting this, it says photos of Tampa's waters drifting away from shore have left locals there a bit befuddled as Hurricane Irma takes aim at the Gulf Coast city. Hours before Irma hits, the water is literally being sucked out of Tampa Bay. I took this photo at the end of my street, someone tweeted. Tweeter Tim Shaw noted how the bay had become an effective dog park, tweeting out a video of two dogs running and playing on the bay's floor. I mean, this is just strange. You know, in the history of hurricanes, how many times have you ever heard something like this happening? National Weather Service meteorologist Ryan Rogers explains the phenomenon as a kind of reverse storm surge. Huh? Oh, okay. So they just need to make something up. I mean, there's something behind this here. It says, when wind pushes water onto land, we get storm surge. What has happened in Tampa Bay is wind pushing water away from the shore. Hurricane Irma's winds in Tampa are blowing from the northeast to the southwest, which is the same general positioning of the bay. Essentially, the winds are strong enough and blowing in just the right direction to push the water out of the bay and into the Gulf of Mexico. All of that force from the wind is pushing the water out of the bay and into the Gulf, said Rogers, who is based in Mobile, Alabama. It has everything to do with the actual placement of the storm. It says those who are deciding to take a stroll in Tampa Bay best get out because the water will return. The direction of the winds will change as Irma moves up the Florida Peninsula. The winds from the northeast will do an about face once the storm reaches Tampa's latitude, blowing the water back into the bay. Rogers didn't speculate on when exactly the water will come back to shore, but did say it's guaranteed to happen. Well, I'd hope so, because this is just strange stuff we're seeing go on. And you could see photos from the Bahamas, which shows a dry shoreline, but look how far out that goes. You could see a video clip from Long Island in the Bahamas. This article says a meteorologist. As a meteorologist, there are things you learn in textbooks that you may never see in person. You know they happen theoretically, but the chances of seeing the most extraordinary weather phenomenon are slim to none. This is one of those things, a hurricane strong enough to change the shape of an ocean. Now, you think that weather control and weather manipulation aren't involved here? Hard to believe. I mean, this hasn't been seen before. This is the kind of thing that leaves you in disbelief. I mean, look at the ocean. The ocean just looks like Death Valley. Have you ever seen photos of Death Valley? How dried up Death Valley is down in the actual, below sea level. I mean, it's freaky. Freaky stuff. And this is going on. Now it's going on around the Tampa Bay area, but this is already done in the Bahamas, and the water hasn't even returned, they're saying. It says on Saturday, the wind on Long Island in the Bahamas was blowing from southeast to northwest. So on the northwest side of the island, water was getting pushed away from the shoreline. On the Gulf Coast of Florida, winds were out of the east on Sunday, which pushed water west and away from the coast. At the same time, some locations may be experiencing the effects of the hurricane bulge. In the center of the storm, where the pressure is lowest and the winds are converging, water piles up. Low pressure is basically a sucking mechanism in the sense that it draws the air inward. When the pressure is exceptionally low and the winds are very strong, it creates a bulge of ocean water under the center of the storm. In any case, the missing water isn't the sign of a tsunami. The water returned to Long Island on Saturday. On the Florida Gulf Coast, it will be back after the center of the storm passes north of the location. So, okay, so I stand corrected. The water has returned in the Bahamas. But for a period of time, the water was gone. The sea was dried up. This is something that you don't see very often. I can't remember ever seeing anything like this. These photographs, like I said, look like something out of the desert, something out of Death Valley. You can see the cracks in the ocean floor. Some of it doesn't even look muddy. It looks dry. But again, I'm not a meteorologist. I'm just showing this. I came across this. I've been, watching the storm. I have, friends and family down there. And there's people listening to this channel who are down there, keeping everyone in our prayers. Other channels who, I'm friends with, who live in that area. My prayers are with them and their family. Hopefully, they stay safe, their families stay safe, their homes, are protected, that God protects their homes. Obviously, a lot of people are worn down by all of this stuff, and a lot of people from, the islands have messaged me and stuff about some of the damage, so it's definitely, heartbreaking to hear a lot of this stuff. It's worn me out a bit, and I can't imagine what they're going through experiencing it, so keep these people in your prayers, but also remember, when we see strange phenomenons like this, when we see the earthquake that just suddenly appeared in Mexico, we saw strange flashes in the sky, and a lot of people wanted to message me and say, oh, that's normal, the rocks causing lights to shoot up into the sky. I mean, really? People just really don't want to believe at all that our government could be behind something like this. They're either one way or the other. They're fully believing that this is nature taking its course. And then you have Christians who are fully believing that this is God operating. And I'm not saying that it's not, because God is in total control. But we do know that they have the ability to manipulate weather. And when you see bizarre things like that happen, when Harvey hits, then Irma shows up with Jose and Katia, they're all together in 3. Jose's pretty much trailing right behind Irma to finish off any of the damage. It certainly makes you raise your eyebrows and ask questions about what's going on. Then you see bizarre phenomenons like this, where the ocean is literally missing, where it's dried up, where it's taken away. And they say, well, it's kind of like a reverse technology here, a reverse deal where, the hurricane's sucking up the ocean because it's heading in an opposite direction than it's just, listen, people are going to say, it's science, we're never going to understand this stuff, but that's the excuse they always use. They always go, well, you're not a scientist, you're not a meteorologist, and I'm not, but we know weird things when we see it, and we know that they always come out and deflect when stuff like this happens. We don't hear them addressing anything as far as weaponized weather. Nothing. No one's saying peep about it. They're doing fake news articles talking about how some people are saying the storm's not as strong as they claim. Oh, and they're going, oh, it's fake news because somebody called it a Category 6 instead of a Category 5, and Category 6 doesn't exist. But nobody's addressing how HARP exists, how they have this type of technology to manipulate and control weather, how we have all of these organizations set up across America that are called weather modification organizations. Like I showed you, the one in Texas that met days before Irma hit. Coming across saying, well, we need to take control of the weather, moderate its direction because we have droughts and things like that. So why would people think that if they have the capability to do good with weather, that they would not use that capability to do bad? Because people are naive. They don't believe this type of evil exists in our world, and it does. That's the scary part. It does exist. And we know that through Scripture. We know how evil Satan is and his minions are. and that they lust for blood, they lust for destruction. So again, we're seeing all this stuff go on. Hurricane Irma looks like it's gone down to a Category 3. But these are just some of the weird events that are going on around it. Missing oceans, dried up seas, stuff that you don't see normally. Even having, people on the Weather Channel scratching their head going, I don't know what this is. I've never seen it. Only 5 minutes later to say, well, it's probably some type of, throwing some explanation out there about it. So people feel, oh, okay. Yeah, this is normal. This is what happens, right? Deflecting. Again, keep everybody in your prayers who has been affected by this and who is still in the path of this storm, which is moving its way through Florida. Keep them in your prayers. They're in mine. I thank everybody for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your family.